all right. I'm just getting the microphone to work properly. We're now live from downtown Levet. And Battle of the Beaks. Okay, is anyone not done reading the procedure? Let me know when you're good. Future of animal food. Actually, no, current animal food. Doing like plastics, microplastics, regular plastics, sea turtle plastics. We have now found microplastics in every source of water on the planet. Arctic, Antarctic. There's not a single source left.
Even the ice?
Everything. Any source of water that is available on the surface has plastic.
There's enough plastics in the average human brain to make a spoon.
My spoon is too big. Sorry. Hold me. Okay, put away your laptops. That was 5 minutes. Put them away. Arrange the desk so you can see the board.
Can you just move the screen?
That seems... But, like... Yeah. I'll try. Ooh, that didn't sound good.
Yep, I can see it.
Yeah, we can see that.
I don't think you can take notes that way.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because that wouldn't have worked at all if I turned the board. Okay, how do you, if you're a bird in this lab, how do you gather food? Hand. Yes?
With one of the beaks, like a clothespin.
Okay, you need one, so I got a fork. How do I gather food? Yes?
Forking, stabbing.
Yes? There's rules though. Am I allowed to use my other hand?
No.
No, what's in my other hand? Cup. So you have to fork it, put it in. And the reason I'm going through this is because last year when I started at Boom, everybody started cheating. They were like true forks and like someone else, and like they put the cup and they were doing more than. So how many pieces of food are you allowed to grab at a time? One. So even if you could grab more than one, you're only allowed to grab one. Because all of these were picked to differentiate based on how quickly you can gather food. We're going to have different types of food types. We are going to have different types of procedures. I think in the first one we just gather possibly one type of food at a time, and then in a later procedure we have all the types of food available and see how well you do, which is the best beak, which is the worst beak, because they're all just representing beaks, and it comes from Darwin's finches from the Galapagos, which we'll go over. Now, we're going to record the data on the sheet. And I've seen in your lab books a lot of procedures now, so we're not going to do that there. We're going to do that here, and I didn't. We weren't ready in terms of I wasn't ready to give you back your books and have this as a pre-lab, so I'm not going to make you do that in there. But I'm going to have you take your lab books now, and instead of answering questions, you'll make it more of a discussion area in there. Since I've seen so many procedures and have a chance to improve your lab work that way, and do a little graph and interpretation of the data. So the data will be recorded here and online. We'll have class data, and you'll have a little spot to put in your class data. And then we'll combine that all together and make some conclusions for it. Okay, good to go for Monday? What block do we have on Monday? Sure. I just assumed everybody would know and be looking forward to science. And be like, yes, we have it first block, Mr. Neufeld. We have it second block. Okay, that's not too bad. Okay, pull your notes. So you gotta learn some terminology.
Mr. Newfeld, I'm not here on Monday.
What?
I'm not here on Monday.
Why?
I'm leaving early for the.
Well, stay. There. Problem solved. You're welcome. Congratulations.
Yeah, I don't have one, I don't think.
Do what?
I mean, you're not here. You can't do the lab.
Yeah, I guess I'll just.
We'll have to come up with something else, or I have a lab mark from you, so it might just be that you don't do the lab and you make it up on a future lab or something.
Okay. Can I do that lab after the meeting?
Maybe. Come see me. Maybe we can use data since it's a discussion-based one. We'll see.
Okay.
Okay? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't believe I have these notes either.
Lies.
It's a new pair.
I don't think any of us
This
have.
is lies.
Yeah, it's a new pair of those.
They are a new set, but some of you may have been away. Come on up and grab them. Start with Darwin and Wallace. We were here. We did that. We did that. And then we did a little bit of that. And then we're here. And I told you to play games. No, I told you to play games in prep. And then I posted a bunch of games for Google Classroom. How many people do have it? These are the good students. The students who come every day. Well done. Bonus points. For everybody else, this is the most important decision you'll make in the future. When selecting things for next year, what sport do you pick? Rowing. No. Not rowing. Not rugby. I mean, you couldn't possibly pick something worse. Not hockey. No.
Oh, let me guess.
Squash?
What's it called? Like the nature thing.
Outdoor pursuits.
Outdoor pursuits is okay, but no, they often go away whole weekends. What's that over here?
Squash.
Squash. No, they
Okay.
actually go away and like do games sometimes in
Yoga.
Vancouver.
Like once a
Yoga. Yoga has no competitions, no away games. I've been reliably informed that if you fall asleep during yoga, the teacher says if you're tired enough to fall asleep on that thin of a mattress on that cold of a floor, you probably need it and feel sorry for you.
God.
I don't, and then you never miss class.
Might be a yoga technique.
I want to increase the amount of yoga. Okay, what was, this is the example from last day. I pretended I was a bird on the board and we clicked a bunch of moths. What was the selection pressure on the moth?
That you could see one and couldn't see the other.
See one, not see the other. So the selection pressure, oh hold it, where did my, I gave them all away. I'm going to put down my notes. Hold it. Did I give away my notes?
Yes.
Does anybody have them and they're already filled in?
Actually, yeah.
Because the last thing I want to do is start making stuff up. My brain gets confused easily.
Dude, I have
Just fold it over. There it is. So. What was choosing whether or not they live or die? The birds. And so what is the bird to the moth? Predator. But you just called that. Please don't do that. Go, keep going. You were about to say, I think, something slightly different.
Like the control, population control.
Yeah, they often function as population controlled. It's interesting. I think I mentioned last day. All the wolves died out of Yellowstone Park, and so the Canadian Park Services and the American, forget what that one's called, repopulated the wolves of Yellowstone, and they found the whole environment came back. The grass started growing again. The birds they hadn't seen in a while came back in.
Is that bat or what?
This is bark. Bark. That's a K.
Recognize the text.
Because the wolves kept the deer population down. When the deer were on their own and all the wolves died off, then they would explode in population, like our bunny rabbit example if we didn't have enough. And then they ate all the grass, and then the deer would all die off, but the grass would have a hard time recovering because as soon as it started to recover, the deer population would explode again. With wolves there, it kept the deer population down enough that everything else was able to grow, and there's other species that were able to exploit that niche. So we have a predator type of relationship there in terms of selection. And there's a lot of different types of selection. We have selection pressures not just from predators, but whether or not you can mate. All the way back to here, we have types of selection pressure. You're going to have to go back one if you're looking for this. I really don't think this is a good alignment for the classroom, but as long as you're happy. One. So you have competition between species. So we have predator-prey. Predator-prey. What other types of competition can you have between species? Between species. Not within the same species.
They share a food source.
Share a food source. So that would be lions and the hyenas. As everybody knows from The Lion King. That selection pressure has specifically affected the evolution of lions. A lot of the evolution of the lions is to be able to fight off the hyenas, not just take down their prey. And they're going to fight over food, shelter, other such things if they're competing for the same source. So they can have direct competition, predator-prey, but they can also be competing for the same thing. Competition within species. So here's where we add in competition over mates.
Food source. So,
Food source, shelter, how do you spell predator? Predator, prey.
T-A-T-O-R.
T-O-R. Is there an A there? All of a sudden it looks wrong.
No,
It's predator.
yeah, predate.
Okay. Does anybody know an animal that eats its own kind? Chickens, definitely. Pardon?
Hamsters.
Cancers are not a predator-prey relationship.
Hamsters.
Sorry?
Hamsters.
Hamsters.
They eat their babies.
They will eat their babies if they get stressed.
Crabs.
Bears.
Crabs.
The male polar bear especially, once it has had children, it takes off. It doesn't stick around. And it won't know that those children are its. And so it will eat, happily eat in areas when food is scarce. And if you're living in that kind of environment, food is often scarce. The children of its own species. It's actually it is one of the chief dangers to a baby polar bear are male polar bears. They regularly will try and eat them. And the mom will have to walk and walk and walk and walk for days to get them away. Because the mom can fight off the male polar bear, and the male polar bear will, even if the male polar bear could win, it might get injured and then it wouldn't be able to hunt for food. So it has a healthy respect for adult polar bears. But baby ones, it'll eat those in a second if it catches them alone or mom is sleeping. So that leads to one of the selection pressures in that they can walk incredible distances without sleeping. Now, there's competition within and without species. What other selection pressures are there? We had the bunny rabbits last day. We introduced the wolves at one point. What else? There's another button I could press. It would change the whole environment.
Seasons.
Weather, seasons. So, environmental pressures. Winter, summer, changing your coat color. You were a nice brown bunny in the summertime and nobody could see you. And now you stick out like a sore thumb. Cold, heat. Mosquitoes. And then within your environment, you have all these pressures going on. And then, as if from nowhere, this is just a variant of competition between species. But we give this one a special name. What do we call a species that appears as if from nowhere? It's brand new to the environment, highly evolved. Yes. Invasive species. Those of you who have the seasonal allergies can blame, in many parts, those who brought Scotch broom over here from Europe. Scotch broom was brought as a decorative plant to line the roads. It quickly took over the ditches and everywhere else. It's that bright yellow flower that's everywhere. Digs itself into the ground. There's not much that eats it. And it's really hardy at surviving all those conditions. And it gives off a ton of pollen that it turns out a lot of people are allergic to. Starlings are another example. Starlings are brought over as little songbirds in cages. Some inevitably escaped. Without the same kinds of predators that could eat them. They have made huge flocks. They destroy farmers' fields. They outcompete other birds, and a lot of indigenous birds then start to die because of these brand new things. And you can also just say all of Australia. Every time it seems they bring in a new species, and they've had a hilarious versions of, we brought in the species and then it ate everything. So we brought in another species to eat it, and it ignored it because there was all the other indigenous species and it ate them instead. And they keep bringing more things to fix the problem back in the 60s, and it made everything so much worse. I think about the only animal they brought over that wasn't terrible was the camel. Yeah.
Scotch broom was brought over for a singular wedding from a person.
Really? It was started with one wedding?
2 Scotch broom plants at the door of the venue. They seeded, they dropped their seeds, and now they're everywhere.
Wow. If you ever have a time machine, the first thing you're going to do, well, you'll probably go back and get Hitler. The second thing you will do is destroy the Scotch broom plant. Okay. I just like that picture of examples of what evolution can do. Those are all obviously not leaves. Those are all insects. Every single one of those is an insect that has evolved to look like a leaf at various stages of decay. Crawling around the forest floor would be much more difficult to see it if you're one of those birds. And to get to that point, at some point in a dim light, a bird mistook an insect for a leaf a little bit more than others and ate the other ones, and then its children just had variations that maybe looked a little bit more like a leaf, and eventually you get these. This one that looks like a flower. Pardon?
The middle one looks like a leaf.
The middle one looks,
Like a leaf.
they all look like leaves.
Well, yeah.
That's supposed to be a decaying leaf. That's, I think, supposed to be a flower. That's one that's been around for a little while, just sitting on the floor, but not quite rotten. That's a fresh one. All of them have different strategies. And you can, we also have, this is very similar to something else we discussed as a problem for humans. Our crops get eaten by insects regularly. We grow nice crops that has a lot of food, and insects go, that food is for me. So we don't want the insects on the food. We apply some pesticides. Now there might be a variation of that insect that is resistant to this pesticide. It drops all the other one, but who's left to breed is the one that's resistant to the pesticide. And now when we spray it, we don't really remove much of the insect because all the ones that are left are the ones who are resistant. What similar process is this?
Artificial selection.
It's like artificial selection. There's another worry that I mentioned before
Oh,
related to medicines.
antibiotic-resistant bacteria.
Yeah, this is identical to antibiotic-resistant bacteria in terms of the selection pressure. This will happen in fast-breeding populations. Bacteria are extremely fast-breeding. Insects are relatively fast-breeding compared to us. And so we have problems with them adapting to pesticides. And then it encourages heavier and heavier use of the pesticide to kill more and more. And then they get resistant. You classify it as organic. They are not classified as organic in any sort of chemical sense. They're just old and different variants. They can be less toxic or more toxic. It depends on the exact pesticides. Some try not to use any at all, but no farmer wants to use pesticides. It costs money. The one thing a farmer wants is to make money off its crop. Okay, adaptation. There's some specific terminology we use. When we talk about an organism's niche, we're talking about its job, and often this can relate into, it seems like everything has a purpose, and it was made for that. And as invasive species show, it's not really true, it's just that it's adapted really well. And it's exploited would be another way of saying it. So saying it has a job implies like, oh, well, it's supposed to be there. But it also could just be a really good exploitation. There was this free food that was just going to waste, and I can eat it, so now I get to eat it, and I'll get better and better at it. Or there was all this ground that was being used by really weak plants. It was free real estate, now I'm moving it, and that would be the Scotch broom. It just is better at it. One of the problems with Australia is that its animals split off, and the mammals in Australia went a slightly different path than the mammals in the rest of the planet, and they didn't have competition. In our areas of the planet, non-Australian, we have full placental mammals. You carry your children for a long period of time, and then they're born, they feed off milk. They're usually, unless they're humans, relatively capable right away. Famously in Australia, what do their animals do once they're born? Like in the kangaroos. What do kangaroo hands? Yes?
They stay with their mom a lot longer.
Yeah, what do they go into?
They went to like another
Marsupial?
Yeah, they got another pouch, like a whole second exterior thing that you can go into. It's not warm and fuzzy like the cartoons make it seem. It's actually quite mucusy in there. Don't stick your hand in a kangaroo's pouch, as far as you know. It's a little icky. But they go in there and they continue developing, and it just turns out the placental method of breeding for longer works faster. So if you compete the two together, the placental mammals tend to win, and poor Australia mammals have been on their back foot since. When you look at something and go, wow, this fits the environment so well, it's like, yeah, evolution's been at working on it for a long time. It's a bit like looking at a big block of stone and going, that looks exactly like a person, because a sculpture has been very carefully taking away all the bits that don't look like a person. Or looking at a puddle and go, how does the water exactly fit all the bumps on the bottom? Well, that's just how that works. Over time, it will fit into everything. There's, on a related note, there is some pyramids in South America that people did not know how they managed to fit them, unlike other areas of the world where they were very precise at cutting blocks in straight and putting them together. All of their blocks have really rough edges, but the other block fits it like just fits like a glove. Like if there is an area where the other rock points out, that one has an indentation, and they're all completely different. And it took them a long time to figure it out, and they eventually found a location where they were obviously building it, and some tools had been left behind. And they were able to reconstruct what they did. They put two blocks really close together, and they got a stick, and they burnt one end of the stick. They put the stick on the block, and then they just took the other block, and they rubbed it. Wherever it touched, they carved away, and eventually you made a mirror image, and then they fit perfectly together. So it was just a slow chipping away until it adapted. And then they got really tight-fitting, very well held together pyramids. So natural selection slowly chips away at the things that don't fit in until it fits in successfully. They're right in their niche. They're really good at eating whatever it is they eat. This process is called adaptation. Did anybody play with any of the online games, evolutionary games? There's a few on there. One of the things you can do is you can cause a little bit of chaos. One of them, you can start putting in little walls here and there and just change the amount of selection pressure. Up the amount of food, decrease the amount of food, and you can watch little organisms, they will start adapting to a new situation. The adaptation is fairly quick. 3 types of adaptations. We have changes. Inside cells. A structural or anatomical change. This is what we can look at with something like fossils. Like, oh, look how the arm has changed and eventually became a bat. This is how you can see, oh, look, the common ancestor, this one became a bat. This one became another type of rodent. This one became a human. You can see all the analogous bones. These are all essentially the same bone adapted to different areas. And you can have a behavioral change. What would be an example of a behavioral change? What are some things that animals do every single year? Yep. Migration. And you've answered like 3, so I'm deliberately ignoring you now. Yes? Pardon? Store food. Like famously, the squirrels. Literally, we have a verb for it. You can be squirreling away food. Yes? Hibernation. Just so you know, bears don't really, that's enough examples, sleep the entire winter. They will get up and wander around once in a while. But essentially, their whole metabolism just slows down, and they just sleep for really long periods of time. there's some evidence that humans can do it too. If it's really cold and there's not a lot of food around, and you don't have to work very hard to do other things, you can sleep a long time in the wintertime. A lot of cultures lived in northern areas. You would just sleep a lot. And then your food needs go down because you're not moving around a lot, and you can sort of induce. Now, it's not as good as the bear one, but we've observed it in a few situations. We're going, maybe there's more to humans in terms of what we can do than we thought. It might be something that bears just got really good at. So we got structural adaptations. If you've ever been lying in bed, and then you have that moment, you're just drifting off, you go, whoa! And then you like leap upwards, and you don't know why that happened. You used to have a common ancestor with a prehensile tail, and sometimes you slept in trees, and that's a leftover reflex from that. That is telling you you're about to fall out of the tree. Hang on with your tail and hands while you're sleeping, like you used to, and you can't do that anymore. So you just wake up because you're about to fall out, and it just happens.
Why does it happen when you're not about to fall?
Oh, your body, for whatever reason, just decided you're about to fall. So something in the environment or your brain just said, watch out, and it wanted to wake you up. And then you go, and you're in a bed, there's no chance of you falling, stupid brain. It's like, if you get really scared, what happens onto your skin? Goosebumps. Why? You also get it when you're cold, for a different reason, but it's to do the same thing. Why would an animal get goosebumps? What does it do? Where's the goosebumps located? Yeah?
It makes your hair stick out so you look bigger.
Yeah. So like you're trying to go like, whoa, like you're really scared, but at the same time, whatever you're scared of needs to fear you. So you're like, whoa, but you have no hair. And the hair on the top of your head doesn't really do it. So it's like useless for most of you.
Well, what's like with the cold thing?
You put a layer of air in between, and it's more insulating. So fluff up your hair a bit, it actually provides a bit more protection against the cold. So the colder it gets.
That actually works.
Yeah, it works on, we observe this reflex all the time in animals that to protect themselves against the cold or to make them, you've seen an animal like fluff up its fur, they just got goosebumps. You still get goosebumps as a remnant of your evolution. It doesn't harm you in any way, so it hasn't gone completely away. It doesn't really help you at the moment, other than to alert you, like, oh, I'm getting goosebumps. Yeah, I already knew I was scared. Thank you very much for making this worse.
But why shaking? Why shaking?
Oh, that is your fight or flight response. So that's a completely separate system. The 3 Fs, well, technically the 4 Fs, because it's used for a lot of different things. Freeze, fight, flight, faint. Oh, 5 Fs. And your body has to decide on a strategy, but all of those require a lot of energy to your muscles. So pound for pound, you are stronger than a chimpanzee. Your muscles, a pound of human muscle, is stronger than a pound of chimpanzee muscle. Don't try and wrestle a chimpanzee. It will rip you apart. They are strong on an everyday level. So they can, if a chimpanzee is as worked out as you are and you're equal, it will still beat you right away. That muscle's not there to be used all the time. Your muscles, actually, if you use them in that way, would actually rapidly get injured. But you have an emergency backup system. So humans don't need to be strong all the time. We have our brains, we use a lot of tools, but sometimes you need to be very strong, very fast. And your adrenaline will activate all of your muscles. So when you hear stories about people lifting up cars, stopping trucks, and doing feats of strength when they're under adrenaline, is because, yeah, our muscles are actually really good in short bursts. We've evolved them that way because that's when we've needed most of them in an emergency. Famously, there was a wrestler, I just forgot his name, he was more famous in the pre-WWE era. He stopped a truck from running over a small child on a bike. The truck was just starting to roll, there was nobody driving it, it was just unlocked, and he was beside it and he stopped it. He stopped it, his muscles ripped out of his skin while doing it. You can cause structural damage if you use your muscles like that. So if you used your muscles to full strength all the time, you could damage your own bones. Your muscles are strong enough to rip themselves off of their bones from their anchors. if you use them at that strength for prolonged periods of time. So don't do that. Your body doesn't want to do that, but they're there, and it's just an adaptation because humans, for everyday use, you go grab a stick and you get a lever, or later on you go got an axe, and then later on you go get a gun. You don't need a huge amount of muscles. Muscles aren't our strength. Brains are our strength.
So if we got this adrenaline
Mhm.
souped up guy versus like a normal chimpanzee.
No, you could beat the crap out of them for like a second. And then, but in that second, all of that is for push it away, run away, faint. Because sometimes it just causes all the blood to leave and you faint. Because playing dead is a successful strategy. You don't know which one you're going to do. If you're fainting at the sight of blood, your body has just decided this is useful for you. It's against your will. It has just decided that for you. So yeah, you're not gonna do that long term. Although adrenaline has effects longer than that, so you get that short burst. But after that short burst, muscle. Ever sit down and I'll get your question in a moment. Ever sit down? It's a test, and you literally can't really remember your own name. Everything you studied is gone. I can't remember a thing. Your fight or flight adrenaline response actively inhibits access to your long-term memories and a lot of the short-term stuff too. You are going on more of instinct and training, and so if you haven't trained and you don't have an instinct of what to do, you just don't remember that stuff. You're just going to run away. So you sit down, you see a test, you panic, all of that floods through your body and you can't remember anything. It will come back once your body has calmed down. So the secret is not to panic further and relax. So it's vitally important when you're at your most panicked to calm down. Because your body was made to fight off or run away from a bear, not to write a test in a calm environment and be afraid of it. So we have a lot of things like that. Then in another environment, it's completely maladaptive. It's not helpful. So techniques to make yourself calm, to lower your panic. So a lot of these behaviors are bad or good, but I know why they exist. So you've heard people walking into a test and they say things like, "Oh, I'm totally going to fail this test," and they get like 97%, and you know that when they say they're totally going to fail, then everything you hate that. That is their way of non-panicking. So when they say that, what they're saying to their brain is that it doesn't matter what I do, don't panic, it's going to be fine, I'm just going to totally fail. It's okay, I'm just going to, and then they sit down, they remember everything, and they do really well. It freaks everybody else around them, so as teachers we go, stop doing that, do it inside your own head, because you're making everybody else panic. But it's a strategy to stop your fight or flight from inhibiting your ability to do that. Question?
What happens if someone who has like no muscle?
They would.
A little amount of muscle, like they would be able to stop a car just because they had.
Yeah, no, it would differ. But if you search, there are plenty of stories of soccer moms performing feats of strength because their child is in danger. You can get a lot of strength out of a regular amount of muscle if you need to. You might, and people say, and they were fine afterwards. There's also a lot of stories. Yeah, they lifted the car up off their child, and they destroyed their back. Like it had consequences. Sometimes it doesn't because just in terms of structural integrity, things take time to happen. So you lifted the car, your spine is under a lot of compression. It's going to break in a second. If you put the car down fast enough, maybe you did get away with it, or maybe your spine collapsed. So it all depends. During that time, you feel less pain. People who are pulling people out of burning cars, they still get burned, but they didn't feel it at the time. Yep.
Is that what like smelling salts do?
That what?
Smelling salts just like shock you.
Yeah, they don't cause fight or flight. It's just so unpleasant they wake your brain up. It's just a really strong signal. Yeah, it's like slapping someone, but not actually slapping them. Yeah, just a lot of signal right away. Special adaptation. This is adaptive radiation. Single species arrives to a brand new environment. Now, this could be an invasive species. But islands are periodically made on the planet through volcanoes. You can have areas of land. Famously, Vancouver Island has no brown bears. It has no skunks. It has no moles. Our deer are small. We have a whole different ecosystem in the mainland because the animals just don't get this far. Except a brown bear family arrived about 10 years ago, and they're slowly making their way. So on Vancouver Island, you were a little safer from bears because the black bear, I wouldn't say it's cuddly. Don't approach a mom and its children. You still want to avoid them, but they weren't nearly as deadly as the brown bear in terms of number of people killed per year per bear. But now they're here. One came over in some sort of historical accident on the northern Vancouver Island, and they are just readapting into it. And so they are now in a brand new environment, and they're a little better than brown bears. Islands also have their own little things. Food isn't quite, you can't just walk away from your food source and find another one necessarily because the island's only so big. So there's different selection pressures on islands as well. You tend to get smaller animals to fit into smaller spaces. There are pygmy woolly mammoth skeletons from small islands where obviously woolly mammoths evolved for a little while and they became little tiny ones before they died out from climate change. There and then there. Yep.
It's a special adaptation, adaptive, and I can't tell what the next word is.
Radiation. Radiation as in radiating out. So you have brand new land, species goes in, and then it makes, as we're going to see, a bunch of new species. New species arrives or invades, depending on how you want to view it, then adapts. Because now if you're in a brand new area and there's no competition except for over food, and then you're all going to eat the same food. So you're competing within species. But your beaks are not adapted to say, you all eat insects, but they're not adapted to fruit. But the fruit's just sitting there. There's no other animal eating it. What would be really useful if you could do it? Mari?
Yes. If all the animals are eating it,
Yeah.
then they'll die.
Oh, that was literally a Saved by the Bell. No, it would be useful if you ate the fruit and ate something different than all the other animals.
Yeah.
You probably should put your phone or laptop or iPad or whatever that was away. Yeah. That happened to the Galapagos. Darwin's finches came out. We'll have a lap the next day where we'll explore beak levels and stuff. We're almost done our biology section. Not physics. We have physics to go. Watch.
Physics
Oh, okay. That's fair. There is no
Thank you, Mr. Newfeld.
You're welcome.
Noof, there's like 30 centimeters of powder in my wash.
Nice.
It's gonna be
A last good day.
as of the last